Talk about rugby and what ignited and sparked your passion for rugby.
Rugby is an amazing sport. I started playing when I was 14 years old at Xavier High School here in New York City. You know, growing up, I was a soccer player, basketball player, hockey player. You know, and I loved and enjoyed all of those sports. But you know, when I first got introduced to rugby as a freshman in high school, you know, it incorporated everything that I loved about every other sport beautifully into one game. And I remember showing up to practice, though, and the first day for tryouts, there was probably 100 kids trying out for about 40 spots on the varsity rugby team. And we didn't pick up a rugby ball for about a month. You know, it's a really fast game. The guys that play it, guys and girls that play it, are very fit. You know, and so finally, once we started picking up the ball about a month later, I mean, absolutely fell in love with everything about it, from the camaraderie, from the rugby community that exists around the world, the culture that exists within this sport. It's unlike anything else that exists.
For those who haven't seen it yet, I guess how would you, in your best words, describe the sport of rugby? Would you describe it fast-paced, hard-hitting, all the above?
Certainly, it's a combination of all the above. There's certainly a physicality element to it, but certainly in the context of contact sports right now, it's probably one of the safer ones that you'll see out there because of the technique that's taught from the young ages up. It's a really fun game. It's a fast game, very fast moving. There is a lot of strategy to it. And the other thing that's cool about rugby is there are a lot of variations to the game as well. You know, there's rugby league, there's rugby union, there's rugby sevens, all kind of under one family of rugby that, you know, obviously originated in England. First of all, it's definitely an honor to be an ambassador for this sport. I mean, like I said earlier, the sport has given me so much and really shaped who I am. So to give back to it is very, very special for me. But certainly it's come a long way. It's the fastest growing youth sport in the United States. You know, and to see that firsthand as a coach is really incredible. You know, when I look back on when I first started playing and I was 14, 15 years old to where the game is today, and you see 6, 7-year-olds running around with a rugby ball, you know, I mean, I would have loved to have had those opportunities. And one of the things that I tell the kids these days when I coach is the opportunities that they'll have with the game far surpass anything that I could have ever dreamed of. And I'm quite jealous of them, actually, for that reason. You know, everything from professional leagues to Olympics and everything in between. You know, but the beauty of rugby is really that it's not all about the professionalism of it. There's a community that exists beyond that, and there's a club culture within rugby that, you know, anywhere you go in the world, you talk to your local rugby club and you immediately have a family, you have a home, and you have a good group of friends and a network that you can kind of tap into. So it's really an incredible sport.
I understand you played for the U.S. team, right? What did that mean for you to have that opportunity?
Playing for the U.S. was certainly the highlight of my athletic career. Something that, you know, my younger self maybe never would have dreamed of doing, but would have had it on my list of goals to achieve, undoubtedly. It was a long process, and I had a lot of help in doing that. And so the fulfillment of that in 2007 at the Rugby World Cup, when I first got on the field against South Africa, was kind of the fruition of a lot of hard work and, you know, the help that I had from so many people to get me to that point. It was very, very special. And then to be involved for so long over the course of 9 years and see the growth of just even that team over that time period, just really, really exhilarating, and something I'm very fortunate to have been involved in. And each and every game is a gift, and I treated it as such.
Now, I understand you're a coach. Do you coach and teach at Xavier, or?
I do. I'm one of the varsity rugby coaches at the program. We have over 120 kids amongst 4 teams, which is amazing. I mean, looking back from when I was a student and a player there. And I teach as well. I teach in the science and math department. I've been doing that for about 4 years. So it's obviously, you know, dictated who I am and what I do and what direction I've taken with my life.
How would you say that the sport of rugby has evolved at Xavier since when you first started to now that you're a coach? How would you say that it has evolved?
When I look back over the course of the program at Xavier, I mean, there was a time when there were only 2 teams. There was effectively an A and a B side, or a varsity and a JV, and there were 40 spots open and about 100 kids trying out. So as a freshman, you know, there might have been, you know, 40 or 50 freshmen trying out for literally 9 spots. Nowadays, we have 4 different levels. We have a freshman team, a JV team, and 2 varsity teams. We get over 100 students to try out just for the freshman team alone. And unfortunately, being a school in New York City without really home fields, you know, we're limited with our resources to be able to have to, unfortunately, only carry 35 of those freshmen. In an ideal world, we'd love to keep everyone, and if we did, we might have about 400 kids in the program. But you know, as it is, we have probably about 125. So.
For those like parents, teachers that are looking to get their kids into rugby for the first time, what would be a good place to start? Some good resources? Just a general good place to start.
There are a lot of youth networks that are starting to exist. Certainly, one of them here in New York, ultimately, is an organization called Play Rugby USA. They do a lot of work with Manhattan Rugby Club and youth introduction to the game through a program called Rugby that USA Rugby sponsors. Additionally, AIG has been hugely involved in a lot of sponsorship of rugby at the youth level. So between a lot of those networks, there are certainly opportunities no matter where you live. If you wanted to start a program because there wasn't one, they can provide you with the resources to do that. Otherwise, there are certainly resources that exist that you can tap into anywhere you live.
Now, you're talking about your book. What got you started with the whole writing process, and what was that like for you to create an actual children's book? Because I'm sure a book in general has to be difficult, but a children's book has been a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
talk about that.
The children's book was definitely surreal for me. You know, it's something that I never expected to do. Was never on my list of goals, but certainly I have a 2-year-old girl, and so when my wife was pregnant, I remember thinking about potentially what I would say in a children's book, and my wife and I had some fun over dinner talking about some rhymes and how we might kind of swing it to make it work. And ultimately, I just, during my commute to Xavier from Brooklyn, I have about a 40-minute ride each way on the subway, and so I started writing rhymes over the course of about, 6 months to a year, and still didn't think anything would come of it. Everything, my ideas kind of morphed into 2 distinct books. Was fortunate enough to have met someone from AIG who, as I mentioned, is big into youth rugby. I mentioned to him that I was interested, and I had written these 2 books because he had 2 young children at home, and I kind of slipped, to be honest. I didn't intend to tell him that. And the next thing I knew, he said, "Hey, would you mind sending me those manuscripts?" And he checked them out, and he said, "Look, this is amazing. We'd like to help." And so they helped me get it off the ground. They introduced me to an amazing illustrator, a great graphic design team. And the next thing I know, I've got a hardcover, fully illustrated rhyming children's book that is on Amazon and has done so far much better than I could have even hoped for.
Now, would you say that your books are an introduction to rugby, or how would you describe your book?
My first book that I've released is actually an alphabet book. So it takes you through effectively the rugby alphabet, each letter corresponding to a certain strategy, a certain term, some kind of rugby principle to introduce, whether it's, rookie at the age of 40 years old at your local club team, or a 2-year-old who's, the son or daughter of a rugby player, or even niece, nephew, cousin, whatever. It's been an amazing gift. The feedback has been amazing. It provides a great introduction to the sport, I think, through its rhymes and illustrations. It's fun, it's exciting, and the whole experience has just been such a roller coaster, but worth every minute of it.
You have a second book as well, and what is that about?
I do. The second book is more of a storyline, hopefully released by the end of the year. I'm working with a teammate and a good friend of mine on some of the illustration designs. But again, it's a process that takes a lot of time, and I'm still learning a lot of the nuances of how that goes. But, like I said earlier, it's worth every minute of it, because the opportunity to grow the sport, to grow the game, and give back to the sport is one that I certainly can't pass up and really am excited about.
I heard a rumor that there's a league potentially starting here in the United States. How exciting is that for you to have that possibly happening?
Yeah, without a doubt, the professional league is amazing. We're fortunate that there's a group of people that have really seen the potential that rugby has, and have given athletes like myself the opportunity to really be professional financially. We've always said from the time that I'm young that professionalism is a mindset and an attitude, not necessarily dollar sign. But the opportunity to kind of put some of your commitments with your job aside and really focus on being an athlete, I think you'll see that it's going to take this game in a really new direction, and only going to be a positive for everyone involved. I mean, even myself, keeping in touch with some college kids that I used to coach, now they have something real that they can set their minds to and set their goals on. So it's exciting, not only for me as a player, but for me as a coach, that this is something that now my kids could potentially look forward to in their athletic career.
And just lastly, I always like to give you the opportunity to have whatever message you want out there for all the fans to see. So whatever message you'd like to give now, and feel free to just speak out. Any sponsors you want to plug, anybody you want to plug, just feel free to do so now.
No, just a huge thanks to AIG. I mean, they've been incredible throughout my career these past couple of years. USA Rugby's been amazing. My college, Penn State, my high school, Xavier. I mean, none of it's possible without them. My family has been in my corner every step of the way, and certainly I wouldn't be where I am without them. But all that stuff aside, you know, if you're new to rugby, I really encourage you to give it a try. It's an amazing sport. There's a great culture that exists within it. There's a number of different ways to get involved. There's a game coming here right to our hometown in New York City in March from 2 great professional teams. It's worth it to check it out. And I'm very fortunate, obviously, to the Premiership to have me here today to help with some of these youth events. And certainly, if you're looking to get a great introduction to the game, you can pick up a copy of R is for Rugby, an alphabet book. It's available on Amazon. And if you send me an email, risforrugby@gmail.com, I'd be happy to coordinate some signing for you.
Now, do you have a Twitter or Facebook that fans can follow you at?
I do. Our Twitter page is at R is for Rugby. And my Facebook page is also facebook.com/R is for Rugby.
So if people want to get in touch with regards to your book, they could do it as well there?
Certainly. Any questions that you have. And one of the things also that I'm using the book for now, because rugby is still growing, I've been using it a lot as a fundraiser. So I'm trying to help teams not only grow the game in their communities, but to help teams financially as well. So that's been a new part of this venture for me and something that has been really rewarding in a number of different ways. But slowly, certainly a slow but sure work in progress. And so if any team out there is interested in using R is for Rugby as a fundraiser, please check out either our Facebook page or our Twitter page, send me an email, and let me know how I can help, because I'd love to do so.